Talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright.
Good evening. It's the start of the weekend. It's the three Amigos on NUFC Matters. Welcome from me, Steve Hasty, Keith Patterson, and Mitch. And we've got the two Saudi boys down below, like.
Aye. One. You can tell mine's not from Castoria because the badges are right wheel. I was worried about the sizing. So if anybody's interested in sizing, this is a 2XL, though to be fair, it is from the Philippines equivalent to DH gate. But if you get an idea what the size is, like, obviously, you can see the size. Get you look from the back. The smugglers are back!
Oh my God. You know what?
Hey!
I knew that was going to happen tonight. I had a feeling it was going to happen tonight. When he said, you might get a bit of a fashion show. And I was like, the budgie smugglers are definitely going to make a return. Sorry to anybody having that tea. And I was going to say, it's Steve Hasty's haircut that looks a bit different tonight.
I know.
It's amazing.
Yeah. That'll sort you look like this out, won't it?
Go on, son. My shirt's an XL. And I got it sent as a gift. I'd like to thank that person, but they said not to name them. So thanks for the parcel. It came through. I've got one on order, but I was made up when it came through. This is a size XL. Fits lovely. Fits better than the large did last year. But it's great. But
I just want to thank my mate Andy for getting hold of a few of these from the Philippines. Because the new order I cancelled, I'm going to be back home by the time they would have come. So that I thought I'd try. Do you know what it is? This is absolutely spot on, though. It's bizarre.
And who sent the smugglers?
I bought them myself, man.
Did you?
The Calvin Klein, I'll have you know.
In 1978.
Only the best for my channel, thank you.
I'm not being funny, but where will you go on a podcast on a Friday night before you go to the pub and a bloke stands up about 16 stone and flips his backside around it. Looks like a thong. Looks like a Geordie thong.
That's how I think.
We've got plenty to discuss tonight, as always. 7 days, as we know, is a long time in the world of Newcastle United. And finally, we've got rid of Dwight Gayle, lads. Wow, yes, Steve. Dwight Gayle is gone, and he goes with our best wishes because I know we've not seen a great deal of him in the last couple of seasons. But you know what? He was, he was an important player at one time, scored some goals and got us out of the Championship. And he goes, I think, with most Newcastle fans' best wishes, Steve.
Yes, including the groundsman, because he wore that track, didn't he, down the side of the pitch when he was warming up for a full season. It cost him a load of grass. No, you're absolutely right, Steve. I mean, that 2016-17 team all the way through, they got us out of the Championship under Rafa, and he was very much an influential part in that. You can't knock the lad for it. Circumstances just seemed to overtake them, and then I think, like all things, he got an extended contract that made it very difficult for the club to be able to move him on anyway. And he appeared on the bench 20 odd times last season, if not more. Yeah, I think he barely got a showing, didn't he? I think he came on once, so that I recall. I'm sure somebody will correct us in the chat. But no, a good look. I think that's a great move, by the way. I think Stoke City, great move for him. Looking for goals. Michael O'Neill's still there, I believe. I'm not too sure. There was a lot of talk in the summer that he might be moving on himself, but obviously came to Newcastle, looked around, asked a few questions, got the man he thinks will be able to score goals and help them climb up the championship. So best wishes to Dwight, best wishes to his family, and Newcastle United move on. We always expected this to happen. We expected certain players, especially those who had been here for 5, 6, 7 seasons, to be in this situation because the club's moving forward. They're getting a little bit older, and the opportunities were going to be less and less. And the same goes for Kieran Clark. So good luck to the lad.
Yeah, can you get the smugglers from the Toon shop? Says Toon 2020. I don't think so, mate.
I'd quite happily endorse them if I get a cut of it.
John says, can you wear them for the Forest game, Mitch, when you come over?
Aye, John, I'll put them in the case, mate. No worries.
Brilliant. Keith, Dwight Gayle's gone. I mean, that's another one out the door. Me and Malcolm and Gibbo did have a laugh last night on the show, mind, when we our usual upbeat show turned into a half an hour discussion about Chris Wood, which we'll come to. But they were also, Gibbo was referring to some Reading fans who were basically comparing Hendrick to some of the best players in the world after he scored 2 goals in 2 games. But we are getting rid of the driftwood, Keith, and I think, we keep saying we've got to have a bit of patience with the incomings. We've got to have outgoings as well, and it's been a good fortnight for that.
I think on Dwight Gayle, it's easy to criticise because I think people were critical when he wasn't getting in. I was dead surprised when he got a contract that Bruce didn't use him. When Bruce was here, we were woefully weak up front. And because to give that contract, I couldn't understand why he didn't get the games to follow. I was shocked with Jordan Croden put a really good statistic on today. I think he said, all the time Gayle's been at Newcastle, he's only scored, I think it was 16 Premier League goals. Did you say that today? That was a real surprise. I thought it was a good start for Jordan to stick on because then you look at it and it puts it in perspective because I think he's done a great job. I think he's done good charity work around the club. I wish him well. I think it's a no-brainer from Stoke because I genuinely think this lad will get 20 plus goals in the Championship, and I hope a hat-trick against the Mackhams. But when you look at the lad, when you look at this lad, you think to yourself, he was a great Championship player for us, and under Rafa that season, we go, oh, he was unstoppable. He had a great touch. But when you look at where we're going to, I said to Jordan today, I said, we need that return of each main striker we have. So if we have 3 top forwards at Newcastle, you're looking for them to get 20 goals, 15 to 20 goals. And if his total return is 16 Premier League goals, that's what you'd want of somebody that was playing half the games. You know what I mean? And the lad's just not. He doesn't seem to cut it in the Premiership. It's certainly not the club that's hoping to get top 10. Good luck to him, good luck to him, and good luck to Stoke because when I was on holiday, I talked to Sheffield United supporter and I said, "You want to buy Gayle?" And I spoke to the West Brom supporter, and last year I spoke to a Fulham lad. I mean, they did well. They brought Mitrovic, but Dwight Gayle's a no-brainer. Pay his wages, and you're going to get 20 plus goals. And if you get a striker getting you 20 plus goals, you're going to be in the playoffs, aren't you?
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer. But as far as the other players go, when you talk about it's been a good week, someone said to me, it was just a conversation, said, who would you, if people left, when would you see real progress? I said, I don't know if it's this window or the next window, but I said, when you see the likes of, and this is controversial, if you see the likes of Fernandez, I think Murphy, I mean, personally, if there's a place on the bench, I'd have Anderson on before Murphy, like of what I've seen coming in. And you look at like the Cells, they're on about buying another centre half. They're talking about if Byrne doesn't play. So if Shah starts with Botman, you've got Byrne on the bench, and they bring somebody else in, there's going to be a lot of centre halves that are going to get a game. And then there's kids coming through, like Kel Watson, the new lad they got from Scotland. So for me, there is still a few in there, but I think we've made hellish progress. I think we've got rid of, we've got people, not got rid, but you look at like Kieran Clark and Dwight Gayle are going to play every week. And if people are raving about Jeff Hendrick, that's healthy for him and his family and Newcastle if he's getting rave reports at Redmond. So good on everybody, really.
Yeah, let's hope they're buying permanently. Let's hope he continues it. Mitch, I mean, somebody's just commented there, we'll give Dwight Gayle a 3-year contract. Why the hell we're giving him away for nothing? But I mean, you just got to get him off the wage. You've got to get him off the wage group. It wasn't this ownership who gave him the contract. It's one of those mistakes that Mike Ashley, wasn't it?
Well, no, Mike Ashley gave contracts out to try and protect the value of the players because he would want a fee. Our new sporting director and CEO will be looking at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is we need the wage bill down. And if somebody's prepared to pick up his wages and we let him go and we're not left with any of his wages on our wage bill, that's a good deal. We've got these things to try and balance, and there's a much, much bigger picture at play here. And everybody fretting themselves that we're not going to be buying another striker. I think letting Gayle go is a statement that there will be another striker coming in. We are not the only club struggling to shift players out. Chelsea have got a list as long as your arm because their their financial model is being reshaped.
It's true.
Basically, they don't have somebody who's prepared to chuck 30 million down the drain every month now, and they want to be accountable about and try and make the books balance a bit. That's why they've just leveraged themselves to the hilt, and so they're struggling to shift players. There's other people, many other teams are struggling to shift players because it has to balance. And so that actually, to get Gayle out, Stoke are getting a really good deal. They're getting a guaranteed amount of goals in the Championship, somebody who could potentially get them least into the playoff positions if he stays fit all season. We know how well he does at that level. We've seen it with our own eyes. And therefore, at that level, they're getting somebody, they know what they're buying. Mm. And there's not many players you can buy when you say, you know what, safe pair of hands, we know what we're getting here.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often. Really doesn't happen very often. It's a good deal for Stoke, and in terms of getting our wage bill down, it's a good deal for us. Who's to say they're not looking to line up all sorts in the market? I know they're very active, but the other thing, like I said before, the club now, since Ashworth's come in, are tight as an arch trough. There's not much getting out now, and that's the way it should be. That's absolutely the way it should be. We've got another, God knows how many days till the transfer window closes. We've done great business so far. Everybody needs to just trust the process and let them get on with their jobs, and things will happen when they happen. And letting Gayle go, I think, is very, very significant in terms of there's a striker gone out, there will be a striker coming in, and everybody needs to calm down. And as far as Chris Wood goes, I don't know where anybody can say anything other than good things from him as far as I'm concerned. What he did last season at the end, when he was ploughing a lone furrow up front and holding on the ball and bringing people into the game, the goals will come. But he's never been a prolific goal scorer. He's a very different beast. And we do need somebody to either complement or back up Wilson, because we need to protect Wilson this season. And I'm damn sure the whole furore about, well, he's gambling on Wilson's fitness for the season is basically bollocks.
Right, come on, Mitch. Let's get this one started, because I ended up having half an hour of this with Supermac and Gibbo last night. It was a great debate. It was a great debate, right? But Gibbo and Supermac were doing exactly what they've been doing with Joe Linton before the big turnaround with Joe Linton. They were slagging him off, having a pop, calling him plank of wood, driftwood, you name it. Just saying he's useless, a waste of space. My argument was simple. I said he played those 9 games, which we went unbeaten. He scored a penalty, which was the winning penalty, which got us 3 points. But when we signed him because it weakened Burnley, and Burnley went down. So that certainly played its part. We also signed him because he was probably the only striker or forward player that we could get. Newcastle were rock bottom and struggling to bring players in. Chris Wood wanted to come. And the other thing about Chris Wood in his defence is that he played in a 4-4-2 with Burnley. He played up front with another person, a strike partner, somebody to take the load. And in 3 consecutive seasons in the Premier League, Chris Wood scored double figures. He scored maybe 11, 12, 13 goals on 3 consecutive seasons, playing in a 4-4-2. He's come here, he's been asked to do a job by Eddie Howe, and he's done it, Mitch. And for me, I think anyone getting on his case is wrong. And it's my opinion, but I just think, yes, we're not going to win the Premier League or the Champions League with Chris Wood playing up front on his own, but he'll be a vital part of the squad.
he's a different beast to Callum Wilson. And I'm telling you now, he can do some of the things that Shearer could do for us when we need to hold the ball for 10 minutes at the end of a game. Stick him in the corner with it and try and let people get it off him. Because I bet he's a hard little bugger. And you know what, that penalty he scored, he needed balls bigger than mine for that. Because I'm telling you now, the pressure he was under, the amount of time he had to wait, he had hold of the ball from second one. I'm taking this penalty. And he drilled it in. Keeper had no chance, right? There's not many people can do that. And I know that the last season they had penalty competitions, and he only missed one, and the one he missed was apparently a ridiculously good save from Darlow. You know, and that was 1 out of 20 or something when they had this penalty competition going on. And I tell you what, we get a penalty and he's on the pitch, there's nobody's getting that ball off him. And if he scores 6 penalties for me next season and holds the ball up in the corner and takes it to 3 points 4 or 5 times, that's good enough for me. He's doing a job and he's doing the role he's asked to. He has not been brought in to be another Callum Wilson. He's not been brought in to be another superstar. They love him in the dressing room and he fights for his squad and he fights for his teammates. That tale about Dele Alli that I have absolute gospel from within the dressing room is true. And the first person to go over and back Joe Linton up was Chris Wood. And frankly, I know a lot of New Zealanders out here. I love them to bits, but if there's a fight kicks off, I want them on my side.
Okay. Keith, I'm going to come to you next on that one. What do you think about the Chris Wood conundrum?
I think that when last season, when we were struggling, we went out to try and buy somebody. And we went after like Lingard. And at that time, I think we were desperate to get people like Lingard in.
Yeah.
Chris Wood was one of the few that would come. I mean, that wasn't Lingard's fault. It was obviously Man United wouldn't let him come. But people ignore the fact that when we had the turnaround, if you said to me, what's the day when the turnaround happened and you thought, shit, we've got this, that was not expected. I would say Leeds away. Leeds away, we weren't expecting to get nothing off it. And Leeds seemed to drop badly after we beat them at their place. And Chris Wood that day was awesome. He won. There was 2 games he played through that period where he won more. He had more passes than any of the Newcastle players on the pitch. He won more headers one game than anybody in the Premier League would in a match. And he contributed massively to us staying up. This year, the friendlies I watched, certainly the first of them 2, I thought he drifted deeper to get the ball. I thought he was looking and working for the ball more. But I think Chris Wood, because people say to me, US 25 million on him, I said, it was the best money we could ever spend. Like at the time, and I thought it was a great buy. Right now, if there's just Chris Wood and Wilson in, I'll be the first to say I think we'll wake up tall. I think that we need something extra. And it might be a young player or it might be an established player, but we need something more for injuries. And if Wilson got injured and there was only Wood on, I would be worried where the goals would come from. But he will score, and he'll score more than he has. And he does work, and he is well thought of in the team. And that's massive that he's well respected. So I think I'd have been on your side, Steve, if I would give putting Malcolm. But at the same time, I can understand why Malcolm's saying what he is, because my answer to Malcolm is there's not many Malcolm McDonalds to sign up. Where do you get a Malcolm McDonald from now? And if you look at it, the fans are getting impatient, and it doesn't matter how much we moan or how much we complain or post suggestions, they'll only buy who they can afford and who the coaches want. That's the fact. It doesn't matter what the fans say, because the coaches will die by who they pick in, and the clubs will have a distinct policy on what they're going to pay. And I've been quite open about forwards saying I would go for Osman, because as I watch him and as things I've said about it, I think he looks awesome. But that's probably too ambitious. But there's no harm in having ambition. But if I was bringing the kid in, I'd bring the kid in from PSG, long name Chumimenko or somebody who's behind Mbappe, Messi, and Neymar. That's why he can't get in. He's gone out, I think, to Nice, and he's got, is it Nice or Lille or somebody? And scored double figures goals and created about 10 goals. And he's a young kid, about 19-year-old. Looks awesome. So I would be taking a chance on something like that. But Chris Wood-Wilson, a kid and a striker. I think we need 4 in that area. That's what I think we need. And I think we're one short. If you ask me where we are now, we're one short at centre forward, we're one short on the right wing, and we're short of a midfield, central midfield player, like Shelby's position. For me, we might have to go this season and put up, play with some of them people. But I'm happy. I'm happy with. I'm certain that Newcastle and the club and the owners and the coach knows we definitely short of 2 players, and I'm certain they'll get 2 players in, and I'll be very surprised if we don't break the transfer record.
Okay, Steve, your take on Chris Wood. Lots of mixed debate in the chat last night. A lot more positivity towards Chris Wood. Michael Pomar was saying, would you take 5 to 10 million for Wood, assuming, of course, we bring in someone to replace him? I mean, it's, I just genuinely don't think they bought him to sell him straight on. I think he'll be part of the squad this season. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you will as well. I think what you get with Chris Wood is you get experience, first of all. I think we bought him at a time, as Keith said, when we desperately needed someone to come in. We had no idea how long Wilson was going to be out for. We didn't know whether Wilson was going to be out the whole of the season, whether we're going to get him back in April. We needed someone. You're right. To a certain extent, we did weaken Burnley, but I don't think that was in the mindset of the club. Let's go and buy a striker. What if we get a striker from one of our rivals that will weaken him? I don't think that will have sort of come into the equation very much. But I think what you get with Chris Wood is, and what happened, that when Chris Wood arrived, the midfield started scoring goals. And that tells you an awful lot, because it kind of galvanised the squad. It gave them a focal point. But then what Chris Wood was doing was he was creating problems for the centre-backs of the opposition, giving the defender something to think of. And then that released space down the width and down the centre. It coincided with Joe Linton suddenly having this sudden metamorphosis into a decent player. We got Bruno coming in. We saw ASM drift, but we saw the likes of Willock coming in his place and taking. We saw a different Almiron at times. It all blended well, and we got the results that they were looking for. So that alone tells you that it was a great buy. It was an excellent move by the club. I think now that we've got Wilson back, it'd be interesting to see whether we ever do play a 4-4-2, what Eddie Howe has in his mind. And I think if you're a coach, what you want is that versatility. You want that ability to be able to go, you know what, against this opposition, 4-4-2. Against this opposition, 4-3-3, 4-5-1. Etc. That's what it's all about, So look at it. Byers never lets you down, does he?
Mark Byers.
Mark, I was in my stride there, mate. I've got this vision just coming into my head now. Oh, dear.
We've got no chance tonight, I don't think, after that start. After that.
What was I talking about again?
It's all right. I'm going to do the dear Met.
What was it important?
Welcome to the DI Met, where I ask you to bring photos to us with ex-players, managers, people from the club, or current players, managers. And we've got this one. Keith sent us this one. And this is from Raimondo, who we've met a few times. And wow. Photo sent to me this week. The day I met, it came from Stacey, who was Raimondo's daughter, and that's him. They're massive fans of the show and watch every week. So good evening to Stacey and Raimondo. We've had a few nights where we've met you, and there he is with our former illustrious leader, who, got to be honest, looks like a waxwork of him. But those are back in the early days when Mike Ashley was drinking with supporters. So yes, happy memories, unhappy memories. You decide. And this one from Angela, she went, I didn't know how to take a selfie back then. Brilliant. That's her with Sir Bobby Robson. back in the days when you used to have a camera that you used to wind on. But wonderful photo, wonderful memories. And I think we had to put Sir Bobby in after having to worry about Mike Ashley's photograph being shown. But thanks, keep them coming in. Send them to me at Steve Braith, or send them to Steve Hasty, Old Etonian, Geordie Denton Smith, or NCSL8092 Keith on Twitter, and we will get them on the show. Quick one for you, Steve. Ask Steve Hasty if he's managed to get his overpriced Bob Dylan ticket.
The answer, Peter, is no. I haven't managed to.
Well, I managed to get mine. I'm going to London. I'm going to the London Palladium show. 130 quid I've paid, which I've got to be honest, I think is okay. Yeah. But there is a phone ban. They're going to put your phone into a little sealable bag at the Palladium, which you can only unseal when you come out. Which I don't know how on earth they're going to go through thousands of people leaving the building and do that, but it must be tried and tested. So I got that. I am a little bit more disappointed at Bruce Springsteen tickets. I was hoping to get some, but of course didn't hit the right day for ordering. My mate Dave, I think, was on for about an hour and a half trying to get 2 tickets for Hyde Park. He's eventually got them. I've given up the ghost, Stephen. The only one I've been able to get is the only ones that are available now are Aston Villa Football Club, £520 for a ticket.
Jesus.
And that's not on a tout system, by the way. That's an actual ticket. And Edinburgh Murrayfield, £442 for a seat in the stands. Absolutely crazy for the Bruce Springsteen gig. So I'll just have to put up with the fact that I've seen him once and I'll probably never see him again. But so there you go. There's your answer. But Bob Dylan, 130 quid. It's cheap, really. And this
they're Dubai prices, what they charge for bloody concerts out here. They've got this new Coca-Cola arena in on the way to downtown off Sheikh Zayed Road, and they had somebody like Maroon 5 there, and they wanted 2,500 dirhams for a ticket. It's like what? That's about 520 quid. You're like, nah, just nah.
If Hasty had listened to me at the start and put his bonnet on here and we'd shaved it all off, I'd have been to get your own box, Steve. You'd have got £1,000 box. I could easily raise you £1,000 when you shaved all that off.
That's typically you, isn't it? Tells us now.
I'd have got you £1,000 for cutting that off, honestly.
Well, he's made a start.
The Dylan tickets isn't bad. I agree. The Springsteen tickets, I mean, they went within an hour at Murrayfield. You just couldn't get your hands on a decent price ticket. But it's... I mean, I saw who did I go to see? Kings of Leon a couple of weeks ago. That was quite cheap. I enjoyed that gig, I must admit, saying I got in for now. But that's another story.
Gig tickets absolutely frightening these days, and you've just got to pay the price if you want to go. Sadly, there's nothing else you can do. Steve, let's talk a little bit about ASM. It's another one which seems to be doing the rounds. Talk of them parking his car in the wrong place and upsetting people, and potentially getting linked with Chelsea, now Tottenham, and then Chelsea. Is ASM? Is he one of those players that could go on transfer deadline day or go towards the back end, do you think? Because he doesn't seem himself, and the performances in the pre-season, although it's always difficult to assess people in the pre-season, doesn't look great, I've got to be honest. Again, I've said it before, I wouldn't be too sad to see him go if we're going to replace him with somebody better.
Yeah, you're right. But I think ASM's an enigma, isn't he? He's one of those people. There's always going to be stories around him. There's always going to be speculation about where he's going to play. I noticed it was described in this morning's article, the link with Chelsea is tentative, whatever that means. I mean, dear me. I think
the word you're looking for is bollocks, Steve.
Yeah, exactly. Tentative bollocks. You know all about them. It's those budgie smugglers. But that's what ASM is. There's always going to be stories about him. There's going to be off the press stories, about his gaming and about it, bringing people to his house and playing football on the lawn and having people playing touch rugby and football in his garden. And there's going to be all of those stories coming out. The thing about the games, the stopping in the street and giving people gifts for no reason whatsoever. the links with other clubs. I think it's just part of the perpetual sort of promotion, if you like, of ASM. He has a media team, he has a PR team that follow him around. He brought them back over into the country at the turn of the year after there'd been all that controversy again about flying off. That's the sort of guy he is. He's not Chris Wood, you know. He's not a guy who's an ultra professional who you know comes from the other side of the world who just does his thing and moves on. This is what you get with the SM. Would he be better suited in London? Who knows? Would he? Is he good enough for a Chelsea or a Tottenham Hotspur? Would he cope with Conte for a start if he went to Tottenham? I think the answer to that one is definitely no. They're not a cat in hell. Would he cope with Tuchel? Well, we saw what happened with Tuchel when one of his players decides to just go into an interview and talk about how he's not very happy. Straight away he's gone. So you know, I think that there's a myth around ASM. On his day, an absolutely brilliant footballer, ball player, needs somebody who can get him to lift his head, play more as a team player. Whether or not he is just a juggler, or you know, whether he's the sort of player if you try to coach him, you lose that special part of him. I'm not too sure. I've always loved the Maverick player. Jinky Jimmy Smith was probably my favourite player when I was growing up as a kid, even though Supermac was there, and Supermac was the hero and the goal scorer, etc. But Jinky was special. I like players like Peter Marinello, who was at Arsenal at the time. I loved Stan Bowes. I loved that sort of Terry Venables sort of panache that occurred down in London at the time, and loved those type of players. Always wanted to have players like that at Newcastle. Then we get one 45 years later, and you're thinking he's not a team player. What the hell's going on? Where's my brain going? You know. But that's the way that the modern game is. But I know the kids love him. I know it seems to be an older generation that perhaps see the game differently to some of the youngsters these days. And you know, we've got the older generation here around the table or around the screen, if you want, for a better phrase. But if he moves on, if somebody comes in with a big bid and Eddie Howe thinks it's the best thing for the football club, and if also the chief executive thinks it's a positive move, then it'll happen. If they don't, then the ASM will start the season in a black and white shirt, occasionally wear a white one like the lads are wearing at the moment, and we'll see where we are probably in January having the same sort of conversation.
Steve, you're muted, Steve.
You're muted, Steve.
Yeah, he's a bit like Kieran Dyer, Keith, isn't he? ESM. He's a bit of he is an enigma. He's one of those players who, you know, look great in a poor team, but when you start getting quality players in, the likes of Bruno, etc., you know, he's starting to look bang average, and I think that's the problem. I think us older supporters can see that. Youngsters, of course, haven't been through this kind of revolving door of players, and ASM's probably some of the young fans is probably their first hero. So for us to say, well, get rid of him, it wouldn't do the team any harm if we got rid of him and replaced him. The youngsters don't quite understand that, Keith.
Please, you are all segregating the young ones from the old ones, because obviously me being a lot younger than you lot and being one of the young ones, I'm a big fan of ASM. and you know, last season I had his name on my shirt, and I'm quite precious because this year I'm going to get 3 tops, but I don't think I'll put any names on them because you don't know who might come in or who might leave. But for me, I think he's got a lot of flair. I think he's got a lot of class, and I think at times he's unplayable. But I want to see how Eddie Howe handles somebody like him. I want to see, before we start buying the big end players, you know, top players, because invariably, you know, the kind of players we're going to buy in the next 2 or 3 years are going to come with that bracket of being Maverick and being, you can't, not everybody's going to be a Trippier, and not everybody's going to just walk into your lap like Gamerish did. And you know, if you look at Bruno, he looks like just the model pro. He looks absolutely brilliant. But if you've got Paqueta, I think he'd be harder to manage than Bruno, for example. So with ASM, I want to see what Eddie Howe does with them. I want to see Eddie Howe. I want to judge Eddie Howe on how much ASM starts to smile and starts to enjoy his football, because I'd be really disappointed if ASM left and did it somewhere else. And this year, success to me would be winning a cup and ASM scoring and smiling. Because if we're going to get good, we've got to be able to control and integrate people of his skill. And I think of all of our players in that team, he's one of the most unplayable when he's on his day. And it's the job of the coaches and the club and the other players and the man himself to get him to play every week. And I think he's an outstanding talent. You know, and when you travel around, people in other areas say that Saint-Maximin's incredible. So people don't see him every week, it's every move, admire him a lot. And I can see why there's reservations in you old people, but give him this season. Let's judge him on this season. If he does it this year, it might all be history. But the other thing is, I think he attracts bad press as well. He might cause that. He might well cause it. You know, we heard about his antics going on Holder and things. But come on, you know, we've got 11 players, and you know, I mean, Murphy's a good kid. I just don't think Murphy's going to get to the levels we're going to get to. ASM might, and that's the difference. So don't write him off now.
What is he then? Is he a striker that doesn't score? Is he a winger? Is he a winger that doesn't create chances, or is he a midfielder who doesn't provide assists?
I would say probably the second, probably a winger, and I think he does create. I mean, he put a chance over He put a chance over in the friendly that was sliced wide. He does create chances. He does create a lot of chances.
Right.
I mean, if you listen to him, he says he said that his stats would go up instantly better if he had better finishes on, and he has created chances. I mean, we talk about Chris Wood. He gave him a sitter at the end of the season, and he just missed it badly. Like. So you know, we can have a pop at him. But what I'm saying to you all is, give him this year, because if we've got a squad of 25 people and he's one of them, surely he's worth a season to see whether he can do it in this better team, because better players around you make better players good. And if SM gets better players around him, we'll see exactly how good he is. You know what I mean? And he's getting better defenders behind him. He's getting better midfield. Give him this season. Let's not be rash. Because personally, I think he could be exceptional. But I respect what you say, and you've all got a good point. If he gets in and gets his right amount of games a season and doesn't do it, and he doesn't smile, then maybe it will be better for all parties if he goes. But I don't think we're anywhere near that now. He's worked hard. He's played against teams. He's been the only man on the pitch. He's played exceptionally well. And as far as not creating, you know, Man United at home went amazed when our balls dropped. He waltzed past and put a ball in the net, which is mesmerising. And I like them players. And Jimmy Smith was one of my favourites, Steve. And one of my favourites after Jimmy Smith going back. You know, I liked watching people like Mickey Burns beat people. I loved watching Ginola, Gascoigne, Waddle. I like flair players. Somebody put on here, there's someone, the lad on here, Maggot Downer, mentioned Beasley. Yeah. Christ, mate. I put a post on the other week saying, if Beasley was 21 years old, it was 200 million now. Beasley would be, in today's football, Peter Beasley would be in the top 5 in the world. So we're not going to get a Beasley. You know, like we all gutted we can't get a Beasley. But he was probably the best player Newcastle ever signed. So you can't just judge every player that comes in against Peter Beasley, or you'll have a really, really miserable time watching Newcastle. You know, you might get one more Beasley in your lifetime if you're lucky. So be real and compare him against the other people who's maybe he's getting the game. Is he better than Murphy? Is he better than, you know, like Mitch made a good point before about who's leaving. Chelsea are trying to get rid of the likes of Batshuayi, who Newcastle were desperately after. They're trying to get rid of Kennedy, who Newcastle spent a fortune on. Them's the kind of people Chelsea's trying to get rid of, and they can't get rid of them for love nor money. Leicester's got the same problem. So if we're going to thin our squad down, I'll be targeting the people who don't give you something extra rather than someone that regularly gives something extra.
Yeah, it's all good points, lads. All good points, and it's a debate that's going to run. Mitch, your thoughts on ASM? Lots of people sticking up for him.
Have an infuriating love-hate relationship with him. I love the potential he has. I would love him to fulfill that in a black and white shirt. I think the guy has the ability to be anything he wants, and it's his choice.
I agree.
But then I hear things off the pitch, like the story about him when he went out and then didn't do the right paperwork for coming back during COVID, and how he tried to get around that, and the club had to dig him out of shit. Like when he brought his social media team back and was basically accused of human trafficking because he didn't tell people who these people were properly. You know, and it's and parking in the wrong parking space and all those things that basically somebody who doesn't give a flying F does. And that's what comes with players like this. And I'm prepared to tolerate that to a degree, as long as the club are prepared to tolerate that, and as long as the manager is, and the manager seems to be talking him up. He is a player who constantly probably needs his tummy tickled. Probably constantly needs to be told he's the best thing ever, and everybody loves him, and he needs that kind of high maintenance management. A bit like one of my exes, actually. And so, God, I'm on one tonight. So, you know, I'm prepared to tolerate that if I see somebody delivering week in, week out, because he can if he wants to. I don't take that bullshit in the Crystal Palace game where he did the multiple step overs. That was all for Instagram. That was for TikTok. And that's bullshit. I'd rather see him beat a man, stick a ball across the 6-yard box that Callum Wilson can tap in 1-0, 2-0, whatever. I want to see more of that and less of the prancing pony.
But by the same token,
he can do it.
By the same
He can
token,
do it. He can do it all, Keith. If he wants, it's all in his hands.
If Peter Beardsley drove in my nana's house through the window and knocked her over, I'd probably tell my nana she should watch where she's going if she was in her own living room. So you've got to cut some slack to these people. If Peter Beardsley's biggest fault at Newcastle was he couldn't park the car, he would get away with it. And I just think everybody is ready to jump on ASM, and I'm at the minute saying cut them some slack for this season.
There's definitely a generational divide in this as well.
Aye,
and something you know, as I become a grumpy old man and slowly metamorphosize into my grandfather, in all the right ways, I hope. You know, I won't tolerate some of that. And when you see him rolling around on the pitch in a friendly, and the camera cuts to the bench, and the bench are taking the piss out of him, there's something inside that squad that actually, my hope is that they are taking the piss out of him in the right way, like you do with your mates, like we do with each other, for God's sakes. And that's fine. If it's not affecting the mood in the dressing room, or in fact, if it's almost enhancing the dressing room, with 2 or 3 people looking at each other and rolling their eyes, and, oh, here we go. Because they know out of that comes something special. They'll have seen it. They'll have seen it all on the training ground. He's one of these guys. You see some of those things on the training ground where he beats 8 men and sticks it in the top corner. He'll do that in a game one day.
I hope so.
And everybody will go, wow. I just hope it's for us he does it. Yeah, and that's what I would like to see out of him this season. The other thing I think is, in terms of our transfer business this season, this is why I think I would like to see somebody of real quality on the right wing.
Yeah.
Because the amount of times he has 3 or 4 players around him, if we've got somebody of similar quality on the right wing and the left wing, he's not going to have 3 or 4 players around him. He might have 2. And we know fine well he can take the piss out of 2 players.
Well said.
We know fine well he can.
And
I think if we make the right additions to the squad, I think this is the point he's trying to make. Bearing in mind, English isn't his first language, and some of these things do get lost in translation a little bit. You know, that with he's saying, well, we're better players. What he might be actually inferring is if there was somebody on that right wing the same quality as me, teams haven't got a bloody chance against us because we're going to skin them. And that's the point he might be trying to make. I'm going to cut him some slack on that one. Because some of the things, in essence, he's a good lad. You don't rock up at the food bank and hand a check over if you're not, in essence, a good lad. Because if he wasn't a good lad, he wouldn't give a fuck.
Yeah, I agree.
And he does, And some of the things, I had mates here in Dubai, when he was in Dubai last, who spent a couple of evenings with him, and one of them doesn't even like football. And I'm like, why didn't you give us a call? You were sat with bloody Saint-Maximin, for God's sakes. Oh, he's a really nice guy, yeah. It was good evening, what a lovely lad. You're like, Christ. But that's feedback from somebody who doesn't even know who he was. He just met him one evening. He was promoting his board game thing.
That's right.
He's
doing a lot of that.
And that's fine. And surprise, there's NFTs associated with it, etc., etc. Well, okay, that's fine. If you want to, if you buy an NFT for me, might as well just withdraw all your money out your bank account in 5 and burn them one by one. They'll last longer and you'll have a lot more fun. But that's another matter.
In the words of Chris Banks on here, he says there should be no hierarchy in the car park. First come, first served. It's not the golf club.
No, it isn't. Absolutely right. It isn't. And why should it fucking matter? Because it's not like you're asking somebody to. It's not like when you're flying to Dubai and they nearly park the Newcastle plane in Sharjah and you spend half an hour on a bus getting to the bloody terminal. It's the car park at the training ground, for God's sakes. And so he frustrates the life out of us because I see someone who genuinely has the ability to do anything he wants in football. And it's entirely in his hands. And I don't think there's any coach can make a difference to that. I don't think there's any person can make a difference to that. It's just him. And if I was to get 5 minutes alone with him, that's where I would nudge him. I would say, what do you want to be remembered as? And who do you want to be remembered as?
I agree.
Because if you want to be remembered as a legend, show us what you can do in that black and white shirt, and you'll be remembered for a long, long time.
Imagine what the state of his car would be like if Gaza was still here.
Be filled with condoms and all sorts.
Steve, what car? Steve, what car? What car?
Exactly. Well, that ASM debate's going to run and run, I think. I've stuck a poll up on the community page. Would you sell ASM this summer? Simple answer, yes or no. Get voting on that now in the next 40 minutes, and we'll check back in on that to see what your thinking is just out there in the social media world. Now, time for Tweet of the Week. Yes, Tweet of the Week, where we ask you to send in plenty of tweets and bits and bobs on Facebook and Instagram as well. Anything that tickles you or anything that you feel is relevant with regards to our show. It's been a scorcher this week, and I think taking a dog named Shark to the beach isn't a good idea. Thanks to Terry for sending that one in. This one as well, when it's 40 degrees outside and you've told everyone you can't sweat. Yes, Prince Andrew clearly stayed indoors over that hot period as well, I think. This one, thank you for this one, Christopher Smart. He says, one for you. 62nd minute, goal wraith, dickheads home. Very good. Classic, absolute classic. This one from Colin Walker. Ryan, loving life with the big lads at the back. Superimposed photograph there of our good friend Ryan Fraser and in between two centre halves. This one was sent by Terry Armstrong, Tweet of the Week. He says, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's free Spanish lessons where basically just, as you would expect, wants to know how you can get a pint and how you can get some food. But thanks for that, Terry. This one from Heat Save. He says, when your owner says we're going to build a skyscraper, so the foundations need to be. What a statement this is. And the foundations are definitely set now. Let the good times roll. Good tweet, good positive tweet, that one. And how right you are. This one from Tinsy as well. He said, you watch one bloody Amigos show and you get this on recommendations. How are you, Keith? No more. Absolute classic, like those shirts. And this one as well, touching on the shirt. He says, seen this on a site on Facebook, Keith, sprung to mind straight away. Surely there's a chance here for Steve Hasty to get some revenge. Yes. Did you see the shirt last week, Steve? You did watch the show, didn't you?
Yes. I was at the Open Golf and I sat and watched it. It was great. Great shirt, Keith. Great shirt.
It was a golf shirt, Steve. Under Armour golf shirt. I'll tell you something. I did have a bet with you, Sid. This week I get less messages, private messages for this shirt than what I did last week. I had seven people asked us where you get it from, and one was Raimondo who sent you that message. Raimondo said, "Do you do them in treble XL?"
Classic.
I've already had private messages about our shirt, and to answer the question that was on the screen before, it came from a site called Lazada, I think it's called. It's basically the Philippines equivalent of DHgate, and I've got to thank Andy for sourcing it for us. He's back in Dubai with his family at the minute, and he's got the girls over, and he'll be over for the first game with her as well, and they'll all be there, so it'll be a good laugh.
Other dodgy online shops are available to buy your tops from, Christoria, for example.
No, you're going to get them there.
Mitch, has yours got the sponsor on?
No, got no on.
Mine's got
You know you've got no on.
Do you want us to stand up again?
No! Dear me, I'll shut the blinds. Wayne Bennett says, in time. I did like that. The photograph of Jose Mourinho and then getting the tattoo with Newcastle on and Bobby Robson, possibly a prelude to a future manager. Andy McClay sent this one. Tweet of the week, Newcastle announced a lucrative sponsorship deal with Rally Bikes. Players have to be supplied with 2 bikes of their choice. Thanks for that, Andy. And yes, I did panic when I glanced up at what my kids were watching on TV, Wayne. Yeah, this was good. And at the bottom, it was, if you know, you know. Yeah, something to do with the taxi, I think, or a fake taxi.
And it might not be a real one,
yeah. Stephen Kennedy said this, Helen, I think the dog wants to go out.
Hey.
And the last one this week is this. In Sunderland, what type of person lives here? Caution, it says on here, do not insert into your rectum. On a petrol pump in Sunderland.
Yeah, me.
Didn't knock it till you've tried it.
Exactly. But nothing surprises us in Sunderland. Tweet of the week, get more over to us. We'll have them on next week. Okay, full house, says Paolo, at the Stadium of Light in Lisbon on Tuesday night. Very hard test for Newcastle. Do you think, guys, that after the game we'll speed up some transfers? Mitch, come to you first on this one. There seems to be a lot of people, really, really desperate just to see these players coming in. I still think it's been a very good transfer window so far. And with, no time, it's not time to panic yet. 1st of September is when it closes. And yeah, I don't think that result on Saturday will determine it.
I think it's clear that Eddie Howe has a formation in the first 11 in mind. And there's not actually that many places up for grabs in it until signings are made. I think it's clear he knows where he wants to strengthen. We're doing our business in a different way now. This isn't the Ashley era. And nor is it the Shepherd and Hall era either. We're doing things a very different way. It's quite clear some clubs want us to pay an oil tax. And quite rightly, they're being told to go shove it up their backsides. I think this season, there will be a lot more activity in the last few days of the transfer window than in the last 5 or 6 years. Because of the way the money's in the game, because of the way the money's structured, because of FFP, because of certain constraints that some clubs are finding themselves under, people want to shift players, people want to buy players. But nobody seems to want to pay a higher price, and nobody wants to be seen to be giving people away. And we're now at the sort of the poker table stage of the transfer window, where you've got 6 people with skin in the game. You're onto the turn card, and everybody's now trying to suss out who's got a hand and who hasn't. And that's where we're at. And I think we'll be at this stage probably until the last week of the window. And then I think once it goes, it'll go. I think there'll be a number of moves that will free money up in the market, and the money go around will happen, because that's how it's going to work. And I think we've got fantastically now the right people in place to deal with that. My understanding is that we're super active behind the scenes. There's not just a plan A, where I think we'll go all the way down to plan F and G. And I think they're happy to do that, provided that Eddie Howe's happy with who comes in, they're happy with the character of the player, and they're happy that he's an upgrade on what we've got. But don't just want to sign players for the hell of it. We either want to sign players who are young and hungry and may develop into something that's world class. That's why we chased so hard for Ekitike, because he's seen through the game the next possible Thierry Henry. Possible. Not guaranteed. None of these things are guaranteed. But that's one type of player we're looking at. And we're also wanting to say, right, who can we drop into this team now that is better than what we have, that will survive in the Premiership, will make an impact on the Premiership, and will make our squad better, and is he the right character to make our squad better too? And I think these are the things they're juggling. I think there's far more activity than people realise, because the activity isn't really coming out the way it used to. I believe the agents are being shut down now as well, because Steve will tell you, and Keith to another degree, the amount of stuff we get from agents who sit in places like the reception area at St James's Park and basically tell everybody what they're there for and who they're representing, and that then gets from the club like wildfire. That's shut down now. That's not happening. Certainly not from my contacts. And I'm totally comfortable with that. You know what? I would love to be blindsided by every single signing we make and be delighted with them. As long as it makes Newcastle United better, I don't give a monkeys. It's not about being ITK and the first with the news and this, that, and the other. It's about we want to see our club develop and grow, and that's all we want. And I think we need the right people and the right signings, and I think we've got the right people in place to make that judgment. And I ain't going to question that. I'm not in a position to yet. Yes, if they make these signings and they turn out that bullshit in the first half of the season, then we've got some work to do in January. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, okay. Keith, there's no panic. I mean, this is becoming like a broken record on this show, but there isn't any need to panic, is there? And, you know, so far in the transfer window, we brought in England's number 2 goalkeeper. We brought in our main signing, which was Ben Botman. We managed to secure a permanent deal for Matty Targett when everybody was being told that he didn't want to come here, or his last didn't want to shop at the Metro Centre. And we've also managed to, to try and do deals for players who were beyond our wildest dreams last year. We've also managed to bring in Dan Ashworth, who everybody recognises as probably one of the biggest figureheads in football behind the scenes today in world football, and certainly in this country. And we've now managed to bring in a chief executive officer who we're all crying out for a couple of weeks ago, saying, where's the chief executive? Where's the chief executive? Not only have we brought him in, we've brought in somebody who wants to win everything in the game and who certainly seems to go about his job professionally and ethically well behind the scenes. He just, we couldn't have had a better window so far. We've also managed to get rid of the driftwood I keep going on about. So for me, so far, so good. And the window is still open on the 1st of September. And I know people are saying, well, you can't write August off. I'm not talking about writing August off. I don't think we'll write August off. We will start our season with a better team, I think, than last year. And we've got youngsters who are flocking by the bus full to come to Newcastle. They all want to come here because of the manager, instead of losing youngsters. And now we've got one of our own in Elliot Anderson, who suddenly looks as if he's got the capability of playing with our first team. I'm happy so far, and it's not over yet.
That's a short question, that mine.
It's right though, isn't it? It's right.
It's a Ben Jacobs question.
That was a Steve Wraith rant.
It's good. I think I said earlier, I think the more we could panic and the more the fans like us complain, I don't think it make any difference at all. We'll only buy who the club want to buy and who the coaches sign off. I'd message today that we're looking at a player, right winger from Portugal, who plays for Portugal, plays for Valencia, 26-year-old Guedes. And that's a name that I've never heard. That's a name I've never seen anywhere. Just come out of the blue and said they looked at this lad close. And that's what's happening. You'll get a name that none of us know, and it just goes bang, they sign a name. The Diaby thing was well published. They couldn't get him away. TK was well published, couldn't get him away. And so it goes on. But I think Newcastle will sign at least two more attacking players before the window shuts. And Newcastle would rather sign him in July, if not certainly August. After that, it's too late. So it's obviously they're trying to sign him now. It's obviously they can't get them in. But us panicking won't change anything. Us panicking won't make a monkey's toss difference. We've just got to accept. But if you said to me, how do you feel? They've shored the defence up. A lot of players have matured and got better. Likes of having Trippier, Botman, Gomeres in. You're talking about real world-class players, real class players. I think the goalkeeping thing's sorted out now. Let's just be patient. I'm certain you'll see at least two players come before the window shuts, possibly three.
I'll give you one word answer to your question, Keith. How do I feel? Comfortable.
That's good. And I feel confident that the club will sign players, but they'll look at deals. I think if there's rumour today Lingard was available for 80,000, I think they might have made a punt at him. But when deals get pushed beyond them, like the extra terms that Ekitike wanted, and it's obvious why the agent put that money on, because he wanted to keep the options open against the PSG. The agent manipulated that.
If you look at the so-called terms that Lingard's got out of Forest, that's just flaming ridiculous. I don't know how much of that's true. I hope it's a piss take, but with him, I can believe it.
They're saying that West Ham, that's after Newcastle, I've probably got more mates who's close top end at West Ham than any other club. And they were saying, "Oh, you won't compete." I says, "Why?" I says, "Because we're going to bid 150,000. I says, "Newcastle won't pay 150,000 for him." Simple as that. Because it'll smash the whole structure. No matter what happens, you've got Trippier reputedly on just over 100, Joe Linton thereabouts, and Bruno just behind them. And Newcastle aren't going to put a £150,000 player in unless he's a megastar. And I don't think Lingard fits that trip. Personally, I'd have loved him in January. I wanted him to come now, but the deal doesn't work. So you just got to accept, wish him well, and move on. Just let him move on. But for me, I think Newcastle, the blueprint, and this new CEO coming in and Dan Ashworth, I think they all have the they want to bring people in of the Botman age. I think they're looking for younger people to come in to build a team. It's going to take more time, and we're going to be patient with. And for that reason, I think they'll be looking for a younger right winger and a younger striker. I think that's what's coming.
Steve, somebody made a point to me today about Newcastle, potentially not doing all their business in public and almost misleading the market a little bit by pretending or leaking out that they're going for X, Y, and Z, so that the prices get bumped up on them, whilst in fact they're looking at other people, and going to do their business and bring in players that nobody expected them to do. Could be a little bit of that kind of stuff going on, Steve. You think?
Yeah, I mean, there's always gamesmanship that will happen, and I mean, that this is business now. This is football business. The agents used to tout players around. Clubs would throw names into the hat as well. The local press would get little whispers and things like that. Nothing's coming from Newcastle at the moment, and you're right. There's every possibility that there are those sort of mind games being played. I mean, you look at Chelsea, for example. Chelsea lost Christensen and they lost Rudiger, both on free. And then they went out and they've bought, as a Koulibaly, they've spent like 60 odd million for. Koundé, they're going to spend another 60 odd million pound. They've just taken out a massive, massive loan that they've leveraged against the club of 800 million pound. You've got Man City, who they've apparently struck what on paper looks like a fantastic deal for the striker, but then you see behind the scenes that there was 30 million went here and 20 million went there, and the agents skimmed off the top as well, and so it goes on. Then you look at Man United, who cannot buy a player for love nor money at the moment because everybody's looking at Man United and going, you know what, is it the powerhouse it used to be? Am I better off at Tottenham? Am I better off at Chelsea? Am I better off at Arsenal? I mean, that's, you know, we talk about the pull of Manchester. I think that the Manchester pull, the magnet that they used to be, is now on the City side. And I think Manchester United suffered accordingly because of that. And I don't think they can even pull players in. And then you look at Tottenham, that are just, you know, it was always inevitable that you know, with Conte, that he would be given his own way because otherwise he would walk. We know that that's the sort of manager.
Because he threw his toys out the cut. Aye,
that's great. So to save face, and he will. He is the sort of manager that will bring you success. He is a real world class manager. Of all the managers around, you know, he is probably the doyen. He is the kingpin at the moment in the Premier League, in my eyes, anyway, in terms of the real class manager, that can really take a team and turn it into something special. But it has to be done in his way. He's not a builder. You know, he's a bloke who goes out and buys the mansion. He doesn't buy the house and start putting the scaffolding up and take 3 or 4 years to get it to where it wants to be, which is probably what we've got with Eddie Howe. We're hoping that he's going to produce some sort of nice, decent little house for us that looks the part. But the Premier League, then you look at Leicester and you look at Wolves, the next step down, and you know, they can't buy a player for love nor money. That there's no idea what's going on there. And then you look at Everton and you just see a club that's like, what the hell? They're too busy trying to sell themselves than they are trying to buy or sell players. And I just don't know where that's heading. So I'm glad we're not involved. I'm glad that when I pick up a newspaper or look online, that I'm not seeing in the first 20 or 30 stories anything about Newcastle United. The occasional thing that will pop up by Craig Hope that's a bit of an exclusive may appear in the Daily Mail if you look on there. But everything else is Man United. Everything else is Tottenham. Everything else is Chelsea and Arsenal. And it's the same in the Mirror, and it's the same in the Sun, or the Scum, as I tend to call it. All the nationals, the Guardian, etc. We're not on there. We are not anywhere in those papers. I don't know what's happened. I don't know what those journalists are United are actually doing, other than being on jollies or making a fool of themselves at the races, as some of them did. But you know, it's the way it is. It's the way it is. But just, I'm quite happy. I'm like Mitch. I'm content. I just want it to go and not have the panic. And if we do go out and sign somebody, then it comes from left field. We're going to go, wow, where did that come from? That's the excitement that's generated with Newcastle at the moment, and that's why I'm quite relaxed. Whether I'll stay relaxed when it gets to the kickoff is a different story. But we've got a few weeks after kickoff, when before the transfer window shuts. No, there's what's that phrase? Calm your chickens. We've heard that many times. One of Keith's specials.
Keep your powder dry.
Keep your powder dry. Big shout out to Mick T, the Leeds fan. He says, I'll be happy for Lascelles and cash for Harrison. He'd fit in better here and give us strength rather than fifth choice there, lol. So, yeah, Mick, I mean, Harrison would be a good acquisition for us. I just think we're going to get priced right out of it. They've already done good business with, selling a couple of their star players. It seems as if Steve Hastie's just pointed out that Leeds and Everton are the selling clubs this summer. Leicester just seem to be stagnating as well. And if you watch the three Amigos, probably dating back 12 months now, this is what Mitch and Steve were talking about. They were saying this is where we're going. There's going to be some big shocks. There'll be teams who probably are still playing catch up from COVID. And you know, there's been massive things happened. And now you've got the costs of things going up. It's all going to have a knock-on effect for football. And you know, money's running out for some of these sponsors as well. Anyway, got to give a shout out to the sponsors for NUFC Matters. As always, Big thank you to Spider Miner. Worldwide coverage from the lads. The only cryptocurrency miner that can mine 5 different cryptocurrencies at the same time whilst using virtually no energy, and it's VPN protected. Buy yours now at www.miner.spidervpn.org. Thanks to Skips and Bins. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks also to LNG Family Funeral Directors 0191 389 7245 and to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists www.gohd.com. Thanks to the lads at Away Day Clothing who had a great first day. They sold out. Website coming soon, but big thanks to the lads for jumping on board, and thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wolves and Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. Thanks also to Mr. Vicky's Handmade in Cumbria, and you can find out all about them at mrvickies.co.uk or by telephoning 01768 210 102. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the video side of things. If you want to subscribe, then please hit the NUFC Matters logo in the bottom right hand corner. Hit the thumb up to like the video, click share to share to your social media, or drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans. Don't forget, we are also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. Simply go there 24 hours after the YouTube show and it will be up there for you to download. If you want to join, Andrew, big welcome to you. You've joined again this month as a member, then click join underneath the video. If you want to spend a little bit more and get into the monthly draw and get a cup, a pen, a scarf and a membership card, then simply go to nufcmatters.com and click membership or put your smartphone over the QR code and it will take you straight there. We do send out a free car sticker to anyone who subscribes for free. Simply email John at nufcmatters.com and he will post you one out. Don't forget, we do support a food bank on here. nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk is where you can make a virtual donation to the Matchday Bucket today. And don't forget, the Al Shearer Ball is still up for grabs. $2.99 a ticket, limited to 99 tickets. Enter now at nufcmatters.com. And the NUFC Matters Score Predictor Super 6 is up and running. Join the Matters gang. Enter into our own league. £10 an entry for the season. Cash prize winner every month. Exclusive Manager of the Month t-shirt. Cash prize for overall season winner. And Trophy and Manager of the Year t-shirt. Sign up now at nufcmatters.com. Peter Beardsley Soccer School is up and running. Monday night training. July, August summer camps. Booking available now. You just need to look at peterbeardsley.soccerschool.com for all the information there. You've got about 25-30 minutes to bid on the Pato PI t-shirt for the food bank as well. At Steve Wraith, simply get yourself onto the website, onto Twitter at Steve Wraith. It's pinned at the top. Make a bid underneath, and all proceeds from that t-shirt do go to the food bank. Okay, as you know, QTech do a monthly giveaway, and they give you some clues. You have to write the answers to the clues down, and then you get a question on week 4. We're into week 2. That was the first clue, 14th of April, 1926. And this week's clue is 146 appearances and 82 goals. 146 appearances and 82 goals. So all you need to do is jot that down. There'll be another clue next week and the week after, and then you will be able to get the answer, hopefully, and drop it into the chat, and the winner will be announced then. Okay, time for a little bit of music.
Hello, Warrington Minge here with another album review. This week it's The Verve and Urban Hymns, which was released on the 29th of September 1997. The track list is Bittersweet Symphony, Sonnet, The Rolling People, The Drugs Don't Work, Catching the Butterfly, Neon Wilderness, Space and Time, Weeping Willow, Lucky Man, One Day, This Time, Velvet Morning, and Come On. And some interesting facts about the album. Well, Liam Gallagher appears twice on the album. The Oasis legend provides backing vocals on Come On and hand claps on Space and Time. The album artwork was designed by Brian Cannon and shot in Richmond Park. The dog on the cover was called Charlie. And the piece de resistance. There's a hidden track on the album. The final track on the CD is Come On, as I've already mentioned, after which there's a 6.5 minutes of silence. Then an extra track, unlisted song called Deep Freeze is on. Enjoy, and don't forget to tune in next week for another one of my top albums.
Great stuff, Warrington. Thanks very much. Always handy to have a little bit of musical input on the show, and always great to have you lot watching as well. Over 600 people watching again tonight. As I said, we never do take it for granted. Thanks very much for tuning in and starting your weekend off with the three amigos. It's always.
I'm sorry if I put you off your tea.
Kenzie will go with this one. Kenzie says, what's everyone's thoughts on Memphis Depay being offered to us? Personally, I'd snap them up if wages wouldn't restrict it. Now, yeah, it's another one, Steve Hasty. It's another name chucked in. I mean, I did ask Roger, one of our mods, to start writing down the players at the start of the transfer window, how many we've been linked with. We gave up at something like 700, I think, of people who have been linked with in this transfer window. It's just another one. But yeah, what do you think about that one, Steve? It's an interesting one.
It's part of the Barcelona giveaway, isn't it? You know,
yeah.
Buy two, get one free. It's ridiculous what's happened to Barcelona. But yeah, I mean, he was desperate to go there, but he went under Koeman, didn't he? And obviously they're having a big Dutch player out again. But I think they're clearing everybody out at the moment just to balance the books and give them some sort of way out of the mess that they're in. Depay never reached the heights, did he, at Manchester United, for whatever reason. But very few at Manchester United who have signed for Manchester United over the last 6 or 7 years have reached the heights. You know, God knows what's been going on there. So I wouldn't sit there and say, well, he was crap at Man United, so he shouldn't come up to Newcastle. Quite the opposite, in fact. He's a world-class footballer. But another one of these, has he got the right mindset? Is it there? Is he another ASM in the making? You know, are we going to balance? Is it balancing out on both wings? That type of thing. I'm not too sure. I think on his day, again, just like all the Mavericks, and that's what he is. He's another Maverick, another Dutchman. That comes with a little bit more attitude as well, doesn't it? Probably slightly different to the French attitude. The laissez-faire to the I am absolutely the dogs. Give me everything I want. Is it paper talk? I suspect it is. But no smoke without fire is probably the phrase that some people would use when it comes to that. Is an agent trying to tout him? Is it somebody in the press just desperate as a reporter to have a story that he can link in and throw in? Because, like I said earlier, Newcastle aren't making the first 20 in the script. So is somebody nipped in and thought, you know, let's throw this name into the hat and see whether the editor will boost my numbers and get me a little bit further up the page? I'm not too sure. Let's just wait and see. I'm gonna sit on the fence with this one, to be perfectly honest.
What about Harrison from Leeds, Steve? Just while I've got you on, about
different
players.
type of player, totally different. I've always liked. I thought that Leeds team, not last season necessarily, but the season before, and I thought that he was an outstanding footballer. But I think that was the way that the team was set up, the way that Bielsa had them playing. It was do or die. They had pace all over the place. There was one or two players in that team that I would have looked at and thought, you know what, I could quite fancy him in Newcastle. I could probably pick 2 or 3 names, and he was one of them. I like the look of him. I think he's a really, it would be a really, really good asset. I think he's a bit like Fraser in that respect. A player who, you know, never say die, keeps going, full of energy, full of enthusiasm. Whether or not the price is right, however, for Newcastle, whether or not Leeds are pricing them out the market because they need the money or because they're trying to basically say we don't want to sell. It's very difficult to tell. But I like the cut of his jib, I must admit. And if he came to Newcastle, I'd be quite happy. I must admit that one as well. So,
yeah, okay. What's your thoughts on those two players, Keith?
Depay, I don't put any weight on the argument that Man United, it didn't work for him. There's a lot of good players that go to Man United, and believe it or not, one which you'd be surprised is crediting is Pogba will come good again at Juventus. Because class doesn't leave you, form does. And for me, Depay is a cracking footballer. I'd be frightened to learn what kind of money he's demanding. But if we got him, we're just fans. I just embrace it and love the fact he was come to Newcastle. He is a class player, and it would be good to have those kind of players on the pitch. But when you go on to Harrison, you're talking about, I thought Leeds are very workmanlike. I thought Chelsea played Leeds like Howe does, on the front foot. I felt Leeds were in a false position when they started slipping. I thought the football they played last year, they deserved better. And Harrison's typically one of them players who gives you 90 minutes, plus he gives you 90 minutes plus 5. He works right till the last final whistle. And I think Harrison would enhance most teams in the Premiership. If you're with Harrison, either coming off the bench or starting, I think you've got to play a good pedigree, and I think he's got really great work ethic. So I'm like Steve. I don't know how much. 1 minute Skamaka, the next minute it's Isaac, the next minute it's all these players, these big players, being realistic and being, like thinking where we've been and thinking of what happened in the last 14 years. I'd be happy to get, a Harrison in and a young 18-year-old centre forward as backup. Like buying people who's got pedigree, who've played for under 16s, under 18s, under 21s, and who are still getting goals wherever they play, and bringing in that kind of youth to come off the bench. You know what I mean? And that kind of youth that if Wilson had a serious injury as he did last year, that was a bad injury, that we put a kid in and say, look, you're gonna have to grow some balls, or you're gonna have to pose like Mitch and deliver. You're gonna have to grow up overnight. And if Wilson doesn't get injured, it brings a harmonious squad, because that kid can be learning off the likes of Wilson every week and getting first class coaching. So for me, I'm optimistic, but I'm not expecting I'm not expecting that kind of player to come. But I'm guilty of saying, if you said to me, I'll give you two players, winger and forward, who would you take? I'd say Diaby and Osimhen. So I'm a typical fan. I dream like the rest of us. I think Harrison's more realistic, and like you say, players can get priced out. Who would have thought? Well, none of us would have thought that, towards the end of last season, that we could start going on our budgets, and that when Lingard came out his Man United contract, he'd get gazumped by Notts Forest. Nobody could have thought that. But that's the power of the parachute payments if they go down. That's the power of people knowing how much they said Notts Forest will add 135 million to their turnover over the next 3 years just by being in the Premier League. 135 is minimum what they can get, and I think it's a lot more. So all these players come in the reach of everybody. I'm surprised Fulham hasn't spent more. I'm surprised, Fulham are the 6th richest club in the Premiership. I'm surprised they haven't spent more. But Depay, it's a big one, Steve. It's a big ask. And is that a dressing room breaker? I don't know. I'd be more excited getting a Paqueta or getting a striker, like an Isaac or something like that, or an Osimhen, than Depay. But if he comes, I'll be shouting for him.
Okay, Mitch, your take on those two players that we're talking about?
What those players I would have in a heartbeat on the right deal. And this is our problem. It comes back to something I discussed with Kieran Maguire on another podcast recently with the lads from Loaded. We are in the position where, like when you go to Thailand, to one of the markets, there's three prices. There's the local price, there's the tourist price, and the American tourist price. And we are looked at as the American tourist at the minute. So everybody's going to quote us high.
Yeah.
And that's why the market's going to go quiet for a while until it comes to squeaky bum time at the end of the window. What do you need to do financially to help yourself, Barcelona? And how can we help you? What works for both of us here? There's certainly no way we can allow to have our pants pulled down, because the first time we allow that, everybody will do it.
Says the man.
Everybody will do it.
Thank God our pants aren't getting pulled down tonight.
And so the first time that happens, we're fucked in the transfer market, because everybody will try to do the same. And that's why we've got to sit tight with two aces in the pocket, and let's see what the river card is. We might have to go to that, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that, because if you could do a deal with Barcelona to get Depay on the cheap and have some of his wages covered, or to have some of the wages cleared, bearing in mind what the problem they've got with the player they're trying to sell to Man U at the minute, because he's owed 17 million in wages.
Yeah,
because they're paying their wages. They're paying their wages with IOUs and promissory notes, which is never a good situation to be in, no matter how much you try and spend your way out of it. So that gives us leverage, not them. So I wouldn't be paying the first price and agreeing to the first deal. Depay's somebody, if he's fit and he's up for it, enhances our squad, fills a role in our squad that is needed to be filled, has played at the very top flight, and he don't become a nugget overnight.
Yeah.
Harrison, I've seen, as you all know, I've seen a lot of Leeds in the last few years. He does something every time he comes on the pitch for Leeds, be that off the bench or be that in the starting 11. And his record over the last 3 seasons is almost identical to Richarlison's, who's just gone for £60 million to Spurs.
Yeah.
So if we get him for 20 million, that's a bargain. I'm sorry, it really is. I would be prepared to see us pay more, but not too much more in terms of value with where he is. Does he improve our squad? Absolutely. Does he give us more options? Yes. And for me, stick him out on the left and tell ASM to come back across to the right. Then we've got our two-pronged wing attack, and we will kill some teams with that. Because they can't shut both of them down. I've seen, he came on when Leeds were 3-1 down at West Ham last season, if I remember rightly. And he turned the game around for them in the 1-4-3. And I watched it with the Leeds lads, and they were going mental. And the Leeds fans I know will be gutted if Harrison leaves. They love him to bits. And because they know, even as an impact player from the bench, he makes things happen. And that's exactly what we need, is people to make things happen. He's got Premiership experience. You don't need to blood him or bet him in. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly the calibre of player he's going up against. So for me, I would have both of them. But it's got to be the right deal. And we can't look like we're paying over the odds, because that will affect future deals we're trying to do. And it's time to play a little bit of poker, lads and lasses.
Mitch, you must be certain, though, with this whole setup, and more so since the CEO coming last week, we will only be bringing people on the right deals now. There'll be nobody coming in on the wrong deals.
Absolutely, 100%, mate. I genuinely believe when people see us coming, richest club in the world, they're going to try and chuck ridiculous numbers at us, and we're just going to bat it back at them and say, nah, bugger off. We can go and spend my money elsewhere if we want to. It's not just you we're interested in. It's not just your players. That's the attitude we've got to take. It might make deals 2, 3 or 4 weeks longer to do and construct.
Right. It's all right.
Once it gets towards the end of the window, if Barcelona are looking at their wage bill thinking, Christ, we can't register players because of the rules in Spain, then they really don't have any leverage in a deal at all.
Yeah.
If we're getting near the end of the window and Leeds are thinking, hang on a minute, we need to balance my books a little bit here, we're still short of cash, then it's the time to do the right deal. And I'll only have them on the right deals. And as Paul's saying there, yeah, that's the opinion of the Leeds lads I know over here. If they sell him on the back of the other sales they've already made, they feel they're done.
Sorry, Steve, I cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, it's interesting what you're saying, because the players that we seem to be linked with are players with pace. You know, pace to burn. You know, that's the thing about them. And what I've picked up from some of the contacts I've got with regards to the way that Newcastle have been training and the warm-up games and specifically the training, is that we're training and we're playing with a much more intensity than we had last season. And I'm talking about not just, a 5% more intense, but they're talking 20, 30% more intense.
Steve, you've got to look at how fit they are. Look how fit they looked in those 2 pre-season games. Way fitter than they did the same stage last season.
Yeah, it's not only that though, Mitch. It's not just the general fitness, but it's the speed of thought. It's the way that they're pinging the ball around much quicker. That comes with being fitter, because your mind is more alert, your mind is more fit. You physically are more fit. You know that when the pass comes, that you can get on the end of it. But I think Howe's going to have us playing a different style to what the style that we had last year. I think we're going to be playing quicker. I think we're going to be playing. I think we strengthened the defence, so he knows he's got a solid defence, and I think he's going to give the players in front of that back four the freedom to move the ball much, much quicker, and to get away from that sort of what at times was like a 25-minute pedestrianisation almost of St James's Park, where you ping the ball up and you hold the ball. And that's the way, if you remember, that's the way City play, and then they play in spurts. I think we're going to be playing with an awful lot more intensity to counteract the way that City play, the way that Arsenal tend to play, and the way that certainly that Man United, with the players that they've got, are now looking towards bring defensive midfielders in.
When we got hammered off both Spurs and Man City last season, that's exactly was the difference. The intensity. They just didn't stop. They weren't happy with 2. They wanted 3. They wanted 4. Once they got on top of it, that was the only way it was going. Last game of the season against Arsenal, we absolutely hammered them. And how did we hammer them? Intensity. Exactly. You're absolutely right, Steve.
Right. Yeah,
you're absolutely right.
Yeah. And to have intensity, Steve, you need pace. Yep. You can't press people without pace. And if you press people too hard and they come round the back, you need pace to get back. And you've hit something there which is bang on the money. It's the first time. I tell you, I remember the playoffs against Sunderland years and years ago, and they pressed us hard. They were at your ankles. And I remember when we got beaten, when Canio was in charge of them, they looked like hungry at us. I'm seeing the Newcastle side that's doing that now. I'm seeing people that are on the pitch, and while on the pitch, they're going to absolutely go 110%. They're going to run through walls. And you're right, Steve, it comes back to pace. You need pace in your locker. And if all the people going for have got that thing, it's in the modern game, it's uncanny. And I think there's why a lot of foreign people don't come play in England, because they couldn't cope with the speed of the game, the speed of the British game.
Yeah, and with pace also comes the players that feel comfortable with the ball at their feet when playing at pace, not just to hoof the ball and hope for the best. That's not the sort of pace we're looking for. We're not just looking for the pace dropping back to create a line. We're talking about with the ball, moving the ball at pace and running with the ball at pace. That's what the game in front of that back four is going to be next season. That's my prediction anyway. And as I say, from what I'm hearing from some of my contacts, that the intensity of training, not just a physical intensity to be fit, but a physical intensity to get stuck in and to win. And the graft that they're putting in is absolutely clinical now.
Look at that challenge Joe Linton made in the first friendly against 1860. And you hear everybody whining and whinging and moaning about it. Yeah. And the guy and the manager on the touchline was desperate to get him sent off for it. I've not seen that in our pre-season for a long time.
No.
I was at Leyton Orient when we got beat 5-1, for God's sakes,
6-0. 6-0.
Was it 6-0? Well, whatever it was.
Aye.
We seem to have disappointed fans going on about transfer windows. We've also got a disappointed fan who's won this. The Pato PI T-shirt has gone for 70. It's gone to £75 this week, and it's gone to Toon Tipster Joe Walker, who's gone. Hey. That's a joke. Where is George Hayes when you need him?
Tipster, you're wearing that on opening day of the season, fella.
And he says, at least I can dry the dog now.
Where's George Hayes at when you need him? Like, who's Georgia? I'm over the moon. I messaged George over in America. I said, please do not bid against George. I says to George, I says, Joe sits outside my house in the night. He takes videos of us and he's obsessed with us. He wants that shirt because he wants to wear it to bed on his own, naked like Mitch. Absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic. £75.
Who says I'm on my own?
The food bank's a winner. And thanks very much for bidding. And next week, we've got a signed Warrington Minge T-shirt. So that's up now on Twitter. Get your Minge next week for a cheap price as well. But it's all money to the food bank. That's all that really counts, folks. Anyway, moving swiftly on.
So good.
Elliot, as always, has sent us a joke of the week. It's this one. Just written a new book about poltergeists. It's flying off the shelves.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, I like that one.
That is a good one.
He's just flew, look.
He's gone, yeah. Keith's gone. He's a way to get his budgie smugglers on, I think.
Easy way to get 2 more candlesticks.
Just a reminder as well, I know it's a long way off and we're enjoying the sunshine, but there is an evening with Frank Clark and Gibbo, Monday the 5th of December. 10 tickets left, guys. Tynemouth Surf Cafe. Get yourself onto their website. Go and buy a couple of tickets for that because Frank does not do many talk-ins. It'd be great for you to get along there and see Frank. It's limited to 35 places. Got a succession of little do's down there with Gibbo, get yourself down to that one because Frank is a real legend, not just for Newcastle, but Nottingham Forest as well.
Haven't met him with the first club, lads. Honestly, he's great crack.
He is
worth every penny to go and see.
He's absolutely brilliant, as is this. I suggest you go and get something to wear, maybe Neil, in case you have an accident watching these. This one was from David Mooney. He says, I can't believe Mike's still going to the games and sculling pints. There's Mike Ashley across in Austria. I'm sure the guy has probably had that comparison once or twice. Wayne Bennett sent this one. He says, one of the most badass characters in TV history. Bit harsh. I thought Steve Wraith was actually a decent guy, says Wayne. The guy from Breaking Bad, of course, who played the corrupt police officer. Monty Mag sent this one. He says, looks like Honky Tonk Mitch has a hidden talent. Country music charity night with Honky Tonk and country duo. And you can just see Mitch on the left-hand side there with his big 10-gallon hat
Shall I do with that? Oh, no.
No. Sonny says, when on holiday, Keith takes his best toupee just so that the locals mistake him for Peter Stringfellow. Plus, it's guaranteed to pull the birds. If that was Albert, he would have superimposed Steve Hastie's head on that, I'm sure. Speaking of Albert, lost your teeth, Stu.
Christ.
Stu Penman. Sam Chipperfield says Stu Penman's been on the sauce. Thanks to Stu Penman for stepping in last week. Into the old Albert school of lookalikes now. Baby Amigos, Keith, Mitch, and Hasty. There's Keith.
God almighty.
Baby Keith.
That's frightening. Poor man.
Albert, and this is what you're trying to say. He hopes he never has long grey hair.
Looks like trivia, that.
Does that?
It's
Baby Mitch.
That's fucking terrifying.
I'm going to show that one to your dad and see if it brings back any memories. I picked this up at Wimbledon. Steve Hasty on the left, sitting at the. This is all from the final. Alba lead in the middle, and doing the line calls was our very good friend Liam Kennedy. So that one's from me. That one again, Albert, Toothless Amigos, Patterson, Hasty, and Penman. That's just a little reminder of the stuff that Albert likes to send and do during the week. Did you know that Mitch tried teaching before dentistry?
I mean, technically, I used to teach dentistry, to be fair.
This one was from Darren. He goes, the heat is playing havoc with Steve Hasty's hair.
He's got all off to any son.
Wayne Bennett sent this one. Just no explanation, just a load of pictures.
Yeah, as you would expect from Wayne.
I mean, that one, come on, Wayne. You're barking up the wrong tree with that, son.
Literally.
It's not even grey, man.
That's a bit better. That's a bit better, anyway. But yeah, that one's a belter as well. This one, Sam Chicken says, when was Steve Hasty Pat Butcher's stunt double? Hasty's real deal. See what he's done to me there. Why? Honestly, Albert, I don't know what the hell that is. This one, separated at birth, Steve Hasty and Dick Henry. Oh, but I like it. From Steve Bennett, a good friend of yours, Steve. Gareth says, is Hasty getting ready for the big market?
Oh my God.
Then this one, this is from Tom Dixon, who just randomly has now found the same app that Albert's got. This is from Tom Dixon again, Steve Hasty prom. And from Tom Dixon again. Tom then reverts back to type Stanley Tucci and Pepe Reina. Very good, Tom. I like that one. This one was a good one from Banana Man. He went, fact of the day, Harry Kane and Fred West used to be a wrestling tag team. Tell you what, that is brilliant, that. It could be Benny from Crossroads.
It could be,
yeah. It's got a touch of the old Fred West. Ray Parler and Charlie Dimmick from Tom.
God almighty.
And now we're into the real deal here, lads. Top 5, top six. Michael Barlow, lookalike, Florian Grilch and Caldalo. Pretty good, but not good enough for the top ones. Dion Dublin and Tory Kittles.
That's very good.
Yeah, I like that one. Mm-hmm. This one from Rocky Toon, John Mayer and Johnny Depp.
That is good.
Right, okay, here we are. Top 4. Roger Timms and the guy who did Nookie Bear.
Yeah, Roger de Course, is it? No, not
Roger de Course, that's him.
Yeah.
Jurgen Klopp and Andreas Kornmeier. Wow.
Very good.
That's brilliant, isn't it? Do you think he turns up at events like in place of him and stuff like that? He's got you. Top 2. One from John from QDeck.
Yeah.
God, Liam Kennedy.
Brilliant, that, mate. Brilliant. Really, really good. World in Motion, of course, New Order.
Yeah.
Number 1 had to be this. Absolutely brilliant. Anybody who's seen it would agree. When you find Brian Clough on OnlyFans, that is superb. Absolutely superb, Stephen Scott. Well done, mate. Unbelievable. I hope you didn't send Brian a message. Anyway, get your lookalikes in. We've got a few backed up. They're starting to back up. I've had to keep a few off, but get them coming in. Send them to me or send them to the lads on Twitter, and we will get them on the show. Where do we go next? Okay, Michael, you've asked a few questions tonight, so I'll do the honour of asking this one. Do the Amigos think there is a future for Miggy, Murphy and Fraser? And if so, how long a shelf life do they have, Mitch?
I I think they're all players liked by Eddie Howe, and I think they're all players liked within the makeup of the squad. But I do think if we were to bring, say, Jack Harrison in, one of those has to go. Just for the balance of the squad and for making the figures work out. And for me, it depends on who is seen as the most saleable. Which, if there's a market for him in South America, that would be Miggy. But again, the manager seems to be talking him up very much, and he's certainly well liked within the squad. The easiest to move on in one way, shape, or another might be Murphy because of his age and what it would generate for him. I certainly don't think Fraser will go anywhere. So I think it probably depends on who else we bring in, Michael.
Okay. Keith, your thoughts on that?
Quite similar. I think Miggy has just got a new best friend because if you read the articles of the CEO, Darren Eales, he's come in and he's really talked Miggy up. And I think he's got a lot of faith in him. I think Eddie Howe's a big believer in him. I think came back. He did well when he was doing international duty. He came back, got a couple of goals against Gateshead, and I was abroad when he scored that goal. I think it was against Palace, but it was like goal of the month or something.
It was Palace, so, yeah, it was very good.
And the guy's got something, and I think he's the kind of player that would play better in a good side. So
I think that's probably what frustrates all about him. I think we know he's got talent, Keith.
Yeah.
He doesn't always express it the way we would like him to.
If you go back to the time when Benitez had him at the start, they talked about him where he'd play a ball into a box and a player would hold it up like wood and just touch it to him and he'd just fly through. And he had electrifying pace. I think he's a better finisher than what we've seen. So I think Miggy has got life in Newcastle because Darren Eales coming in, and I think Eddie Howe's a big fan. On Fraser, I felt there was a transformation last year from the Fraser that played under Bruce that didn't want to know and we as fans were maybe guilty of thinking it was Fraser rather than just the obvious of being Bruced. And last year I saw a bloke who run through walls. I saw a bloke that came off the pitch dying. So I saw a committed player, and for that reason I would keep Fraser at Newcastle this season. Murphy, whilst he's the youngest, and I've always thought he's a nice player, I think he's had a bad pre-season. I think he's struggled. I think he's, the last game, he looks. It might be me, and all fans are as people who pay money for an opinion, and I just feel as though when the ball comes to him, it's hot potato. He doesn't want to put his foot on the ball. He's not comfortable with the ball, and I see that more in Fraser and Almiron. I see them getting the ball and wanting it, and going to do something with it. With Murphy, I felt as though he was, I don't know, wanting to get rid of it. That's what I felt, and so that could be a confidence thing. But out of the three, because of age and I would say prospect and everything else, I would say that what Neil said, I think it's Miggy and Fraser who have the future, certainly for the next season, and Murphy might go. So Miggy and Fraser has got the future. I think when Darren Eales came on, I saw all the pictures of him and Almiron, and I thought, bloody hell, they've got some real history together, because obviously he came from the same club, but he did a lot of. He was very, very complimentary about the role Almiron played, and he even said that he recruited Almiron's replacement before they let him come to Newcastle, and that's how they did, and that's what he wants to do with Newcastle. What Darren Eales wants to do is, when you know somebody's going to go, or when you know someone's going to retire or leave you build up his replacement a year or two before he goes, and then you more or less encourage him to go or allow him to go happily, because you've got a willing substitute coming through. And in his press, he said they knew they couldn't keep hold of Almiron, but they replaced him before he went. So that's my thoughts.
Steve, your thoughts on those players that he mentioned?
I think all three still have a place to play at Newcastle for different reasons. Let's take Murphy first. I think somebody put up there, Murphy's 27. Murphy's a 27-year-old who, in my mind, is 21. He's a player who still has an arm around him, and I think he's gradually maturing. And I think when we got him, he was left to his own devices. I thought he was quiet, timid. He was tiny. He didn't have any bulk on him. I think he's worked on an awful lot of his game. I heard that there was an incident during training where he was digging out ASM for his attitude, which I found interesting. So that shows he's a confidence player. He's confident in being a member of the squad now. He's not prepared to just sit back and take it. He's willing to speak his mind, which I think is great. Miggy, you're absolutely spot on, Keith, with the links between him and Darren Eales and what went on at Atlanta. I think if you look at the dates, then Darren Eales must have been really, really heavily involved in Miggy coming to Atlanta in the first place. And that says an awful lot for like him as a CEO, that he can spot a talent like that, or he can strike a deal to have players like that and then sell them to Newcastle United for the amount of money we did, because it was an awful lot of money for a player coming from the MLS. And then in Fraser, yeah, you're right. We saw Fraser playing totally differently in terms of attitude. I think if there's one thing I would say, why was his attitude so down after coming to Newcastle United from Bournemouth after he had everything handed to him on a plate, and in terms of didn't even play with Bournemouth for the back end of the season because of his fear of being injured. He then comes and stupidly had missed the pre-season. His fitness was in doubt, and then he struggled with injuries, and then he has this attitude about Scotland and not playing, and we hear all these stories. So for me, if there's one player, and yes, he worked his socks off in a few games last season, but there's one player that has still ignited for me of the three, when they're really on a level playing field, then it's him. But I think all three still have a place to play for different reasons, for different formations, for the way that Newcastle are going to play. So, and Mitch, if one of them has to go because we sign Harrison, and I'm not necessarily thinking that one would have to go, but if one had to go, I think that this is again the point where Eddie Howe has the upper hand, and has to make the big decisions. And this is when we see a proper Eddie Howe, a proper Premier League manager, a manager who's not scared to make the decisions. And again, from what I'm hearing about Eddie Howe on the training pitch, he's not a wallflower by any stretch of the imagination. He comes over as quiet and refined, and he has a formula of the way that he treats people. But behind the scenes, he is absolutely the number one at that club. What he says goes. If he's unhappy with a player, if he's unhappy with the way a squad is training, if he sees the slightest fallback, he's onto them like a ton of bricks, believe you me. So again, it's his decision, and he'll make the decision for the right reason. He'll not be pushed and be told by a board of directors, "Oh, you've got to balance the books. I suggest you get rid of him." It'll be his decision and his decision only, which of those three, if any of them, are not going to be part of the Newcastle United squad next season.
Good stuff. The two polls that we've had running on the community page, would you sell ASM this summer? Yes, 50%. No, 50%. Interesting. The other question I put out earlier today was, will Newcastle qualify for Europe next season with the current squad? Yes, 31%. No, 69%. So pretty interesting results from those two polls. If you want to vote, you can continue to vote up until tonight. We're going to finish up on this, and I know the lads want to get off. So we've got 6 or 7 minutes just to discuss this one. A couple of people have mentioned this. I haven't seen this today. I've been busy. But what do you lads think of the suggestion that we've only paid £3 million up front for Pope? if that's how deals are getting done, how does that impact financial fair play? We are going to do something on financial fair play. Some of the other podcasts, Loaded have done one. I think there was somebody else as well did one. Might have been Kieran Maguire popped on to do something. But there's people who are trying to break it down. We are going to do something on here. We've got a very special guest who's committed to coming onto the show, and we're going to hopefully do a pre-record next week. But just your thoughts on that, Mitch.
Well, look, if you amortise the fee over a number of years of the contract, that's how we're going to amortise it from our point of view in FFP. If that's how we've agreed to pay it, I believe Burnley have already cashed in on the next instalment. There's something on Company's House today that suggests they're already leveraging against the money due from us over the next instalments for Pope, which shows you how bad a position they are in because of their leveraged buyout. And that's why they're not good. And that's why leveraging against football clubs the way Chelsea are, it's not good, because if it goes tits up, it goes tits up. It's why what Barcelona are doing is dangerous. What Barcelona are doing for me is taking their future revenue and sticking it all on black.
Yeah.
Spin the wheel, off you go. It might work, might not.
Okay.
And they're blaming the previous chairman for it, which is it's just waving a shiny thing and saying, look at the squirrel, you know. It's not going to solve the problem. And that's why, if we genuinely are dealing with Barcelona over any players, I would expect us to be right in the last bloody minute and see the whites of their eyes and the bump will twitch before we do anything in terms of handing money over. Because come the end of the transfer window, they're going to be desperate. And so that's why I'm, for all my arse has been cut in half, sitting quite comfortable, because frankly, there's a lot of business to be done before the end of the transfer window, and we're in the box seat.
Yep, Keith, your thoughts on the financial fair play, and if we are doing deals like that?
I read an article this week where they were talking about who had the most money in the Premiership, and somebody said, "Oh, the guy who's got at Forest is worth a lot of money." The guy who's got at Forest is worth about a quarter of what Mike Ashley was worth. So don't buy all that. I mean, I was shocked that Fulham was high up. Fulham were about 7.4 billion. So that's probably 5 times Mike Ashley's worth. And they were doing 6th position. But when you got the number 2, it was Man City on 23.2. When you got to Newcastle, it was 320 billion. So when an outfit has got a wealth of 320 billion, and that, in fairness, is without the Rubens, who have got Man City wealth on their own as a family. You one, have as much money as you ever need to complete a project, but 2, you have massive reserve and resource to help you do the best kind of purchases in the interest of your club and your model. So if Newcastle are putting 3 million down for Pope to Burnley, it's because that's the most efficient way to do it in line with FFP. Newcastle wouldn't put 3 million down on a player like that if putting 30 down made it better. Newcastle are doing it because it suits the arguments, the EPL, the FFP people are going to throw at them. So fear not, everything Newcastle's doing is done to avoid bullets coming at them as and when they're fired. When you look at Burnley, Mitch has hit it on the button. Burnley, the day they were bought, if they were bought for 40 million, the day they were bought, they were 40 million worse off. So it's like Mitch saying, you know, I've got a shirt here worth 40 quid. I've got on my shirt on now. And the day he buys that shirt, it's worth 40 quid. The day Burnley sold their shirt, they actually got 0 money in. So if they had drawn down on the Pope deal, which Mitch is found digitally online, you can find these things out. It's because they're desperately short. They're desperately short of cash. But Notts Forest aren't worth billions. Notts Forest are worth hundreds of millions. It sounds a lot of money, but you've got to remember Mike Ashley said he's worth 2 billion and he couldn't compete. And he was right. How could Mike Ashley compete with 2 billion against Man City's worth 23 billion and against Chelsea's worth 12 billion and all these kind of figures? The reality is, as Mitch has eloquently said, when Roman Abramovich left Chelsea, Chelsea became poorer because it's a leverage deal like the Glazers at Man United. In that league table I saw, Man United's wealth was 3 billion. Very, very little more than what Mike Ashley's got. So these big clubs, Liverpool were only 2 billion. So Liverpool were at Mike Ashley's level. And he said, I cannot compete. So leverage deals, which is what you see from the American buyers, it's what a guy I was talking to planned when he bid on Newcastle and ended up buying it at Crystal Palace. He was going to finance Newcastle via the stock market if he got the deal through. That's what the Glazers did. That's what's happening at Burnley, and that's what's happening at Chelsea now. So don't worry. Don't lose 1 minute's sleep on a night that Newcastle are doing any deals other than maximising their position for FFP. You've got nothing to worry about. They've got people just like they've just gone and picked the best CEO probably in the world to suit our model, and probably got the best director of football in Dashworth. They'll have the best financial guy working out how you get around FFP. There's nothing to worry about. It's nothing at all.
Nothing at all. Steve Hasty, just finish off, mate, on that.
Yep. Shahid Khan, the reason why he's got loads of money at Fulham is he's the second biggest motor parts magnate in the world in the American market. He sells car parts. That's where he got his money from, Keith. Going back to Newcastle, go back to Pope deal. All that report is saying is that we're paying on the drip. We're paying 3 million this year, 3 million next year, 3 million the year after. The amortization is an accounting thing, and that's just the way that you can play around with the books. I remember Newcastle United back in the dark days of selling Shea Given for £7.5 million and letting Man City get him on the drip. Meanwhile, we were buying players, and Mike Ashley was buying them for cash. Mitch and I had this argument with Derek Lambias about it, and said Mike doesn't like to go into debt. That was just the simple matter.
Yeah.
And we asked him at the time, why are you letting the richest club in the world, as we called it, the richest club in the world, Manchester City, get our goalkeeper and pay you over 2 or 3 seasons? Nothing special about that, other than that's the way that transfers were always done. There's this crazy thing now where everybody looks at the fee and then they look at, well, how long is the deal, etc. It means absolutely nothing. All that's happened is Newcastle have agreed probably 12 million quid, and they've said we'll pay you over 4 years, and that suits them. It suits Burnley, because Burnley, if they'd been probably dumped £12 million into their bank account, it would have all disappeared. Now what they've been able to do is to be able to take loans on the account that next year they've got another 3 million coming in, the year after another 3 million, and then the other year after, because the loans they're taking, there'll be an awful lot of interest that they're going to have to pay as well. And that's something that people have forgotten about. The reason Man United have got very, very little money or little ready cash, or so it would appear at times, according to their fans, is because they pay an absolute fortune in the interest on the loans that were taken out by
it's
the owner.
That top 10% of the loans with the biggest interest, isn't it? That's what purpose.
£11 million every 6 months in dividends. Crazy situation, and it'll happen at Chelsea. You can guarantee that'll happen. Bowley is borrowing other people's money. So hey, good luck to them all. Good luck to them all. Don't worry. Don't fret that Newcastle are buying players on the never. Don't worry about it.
Can I say one quick thing? Thanks, Mitch, for setting the show away tonight, because the way you started that off, it couldn't be anything but a good laugh.
I just thought we needed a bit of energy tonight to get.
To be honest, it was outstanding what you did. And secondly, I just want to say to all there is, if you notice Steve Hasey's hair's just dropped down, I think you've had a ponytail.
Yeah.
Because I was saying it, I thought he'd had his hair cropped up, but it's all there still, so he hasn't done it. Classic.
I just want to say that everybody who's donated tonight, that will be going to the Mitch, Keith, Steve, and Steve Pot and Stu Penman as well. I will be getting the dinner in and getting the wine in, so we'll be having a drink on everybody who's donated. So thank you. We'll try and book a table at one of our favourite Italians, and the lads will be getting that and reaping the benefits of that. So thank you very much for donating tonight. Absolutely brilliant show as always. I'm back 10 o'clock tomorrow in the morning with Nick Lowe's. And then on Sunday night, 6 till 7, Ben Jacobs will be back on. We might talk about Wijnaldum on there. I know a lot of people asking about Wijnaldum, but you can clearly see we've had that much to talk about tonight. We've never got to it. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. And Julie Baker, I do have to finish with her favourite slot, and then I'll come to you, Mitch. This one. Thanks, Liam. You know you're a CNT, Steve. Give up. I'm not sure what I was supposed to be giving up, but thanks. Thanks for that, mate. Thanks for those lovely words of encouragement. Another one blocked. Go on, Mitch.
Just wanted to say, Dad, I love you to bits. Keep it hard, mate. My mum's been taken in hospital, so please give us a shout after the show. Let us know how she's getting on. And thanks to everybody out there who supports her and has my back, because it's always fun to do this kind of shit. That's why we needed so much energy at the start of the day. And thank you a lot for being with us and always having my back as well, lads. Thank you.
Yeah, sending love and prayers to Marjorie. I'm sure she'll be fine. And George, we're thinking of you, and we're there for you, George, if you need us. And I'm looking forward to pre-recording a show with George tomorrow morning at 11, which you'll be able to see probably next week or the week after. But have a great weekend, guys. Hope we've given all lads and lasses out there a nice start to the weekend. Enjoy it. Be safe. Be sensible. And the three amigos will be back next week. Take care, lads.
Take care, George. Take care, George.
Cheers, everyone.